Mr. Ashley was not at rehearsal this afternoon. He was in a golf tournament, and look how well he let them in. His friends wanted me to give him different directions than what he was supposed to get, so just to make it a little more challenging, they thought they'd get a kick out of that. But that was wonderful. Welcome! Thank you for being here. I see that most of you are unmasked. We are following those CDC and State of Indiana guidelines. If you're fully vaccinated, please feel free to take those masks off. Oh, Mr. Poole did. I mentioned that to Mr. Poole earlier, and he apparently had gotten a different directive from his wife. Even though he is fully vaccinated. So, but glad to know that if Roxanne told me to do something, I'd do it too. Welcome. I am Randy Kelly, head of school here at the Montessori Academy, and on behalf of our entire faculty and staff, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 2021 8th grade graduation ceremony. So my year's been pretty uneventful. How about you guys? Anything? When I was preparing remarks for tonight's speech, I took a look at previous talks that I've given at these ceremonies, and I noticed some common themes. In some form or another, I typically talk about the bonds that the students create on their trip to the Smoky Mountains, the grace and decorum far beyond their years that they show in places like Washington, D.C., New York City, or Los Angeles. And I also typically mention the transformative impact that their weekly visits to the Center for the Homeless have on these students. But for this graduating class, I don't have any of those things to point to. As all of us are well aware, the pandemic has had a profound impact on every human being around the world. For our younger citizens, while the physical health implications have been relatively minor, young people have not been spared significant challenges to their mental and emotional health, or to an educational system that for too many students was put on hold or pieced together as well as possible. The students of the class of 2021 could very easily feel slighted. They could focus on all that they missed out on, those unique opportunities that enrich our junior high experience. But even at their relatively young age, they understand that dwelling on those things that they missed, what they don't have, is a self-defeating course. The defining attributes of this very special graduating class are resilience and perspective. Each one of these students has approached this year not in terms of what they were missing out on, but with an appreciation for the circumstances and opportunities that they did have. These are wonderful and thoughtful young adults who took note of the hardships so many people their age were facing. They had a taste of remote schooling in the spring of 2020 and could empathize with students who had to continue that throughout this school year. They understand that their experience of the pandemic was more manageable and healthier than for most. Not ideal, of course. But they were able to work with teachers in person each day and share the same room with friends, share laughs, experiences, build memories, even if they were most of the time, 6 feet apart. There were changes that they had to navigate when they returned to school last fall, and they approached those changes head on and used them to learn about themselves, the people around them, and to make this a year they can now look back on and feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. They embraced the spirit of collaboration unlike any other class before them, in that the stakes this year were higher than ever before. They were quite literally working together to keep each other, their teachers, their families, and their communities safe. Class of 2021, Maria Montessori said, growth is not merely a harmonious increase in size, Cooper, but she said it is a transformation. And while your experiences as junior high students have been very different from classes that have come before you, what's still striking to me is your transformation. You've matured into confident and compassionate young adults, ready to move from the relative comfort of TMA to a place that will challenge you to continue your transformation and to find your own unique place in the world. And your transformation has been unique, even by TMA standards, in that it has happened through the most challenging of circumstances. Unlike any other graduating class, you have an understanding of your power to impact those around you. Class of 2021, you all will leave here and you will go on to success in high school. But you will be the ones to define what success means to you. You leave TMA with the understanding that you are valued and capable members of your community, and most importantly, responsible for yourselves and with a sense of responsibility for those around you. You will be kind, you will continue to engage in your communities, and you will lift those around you and help them to achieve their success. To the parents of the class of 2021, thank you for trusting the process. You understand that education is about far more than textbooks and tests. Graduates, you have learned not just scientific method and math concepts, history and literature, but you have also developed compassion and empathy and a worldview that gives me confidence that you will continue to engage in your community in meaningful ways. Students like you are the reason Dr. Montessori said that young people are the hope and the promise of humankind. So on behalf of the entire faculty and staff of the Montessori Academy, it is with heartfelt gratitude that I extend a big TMA congratulations to you, the class of 2021. Please help me celebrate. Did you purposely time it to wait for my speech to come in? Because I don't blame you. I think everybody wishes they had done the same. Welcome. At this time, I'd like to welcome to the podium Dr. Matt Champion, President of the Board of Trustees and proud father of one of tonight's graduates. Dr. Champion.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone. For non-obvious reasons, they're letting me talk. This, obviously, year has had some special significance for me. I have a daughter graduating here, and I'm getting a little emotional already. But on the drive-in this morning, I had another child at the kindergarten ceremony, and I was thinking about my own daughter's kindergarten ceremony 10 some odd years ago, and about all of the drop-offs we've done in that time. And, you know, that hasn't changed. But if you kind of do the math in your head, it's in the neighborhood of 2,000 drop-offs over the last 10 years or so. A round trip from my house means that kind of gets to be about 24,000 miles we've driven Julia to drop her off at her time at TMA. To give you some perspective, that's almost exactly the distance to circumnavigate the Earth. And if I've ever seen a more Montessori symbolism than the sort of circling of the globe, and how many times I dropped my daughter off here in terms of distance, I can't think of one. However, with Father's Day just around the corner, I do also have to look at this. And I look at that number and I'm like, you know, if we had driven straight through and not stopped for anything other than gas, I think we could have done it in 14 days. Easily. I'm going to have a few remarks, more forward-looking. I don't want to reflect too much on what we went through, because the future is represented by what you guys do with this information from today, not about what happened 16 months ago. But on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I do want to thank everyone for making this year possible. We essentially had a fully occupied calendar year. In particular, just the parents, staff, our head of school, Randy Kelly, the physicians and allied health people that helped us, and scientists who contributed to the policies we wrote for the school, people like Justin Dunham and Dr. Kim, and a significant thank you to the parents and teachers for implementing those plans and making this still exist in the state that it did this year. Would not have been possible without everyone in the audience helping out and the teachers doing their part. So thank you for that. I want to close with two other comments. I want to read the first stanza of a poem by Samuel Coleridge. It was written in 1797. This is for you. It's fanciful and imaginative, and it projects kind of just a nice fantasy vision in the head and something nice to sort of lean on, which is the opposite of where we found ourselves this past year. It's called Or the Vision, Dream, a Fragment. Insanity did Kubla Khan, his stately pleasure domed decree, where out the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. So twice 5 miles of fertile ground, with walls, towers, girdled round. And when there were gardens bright with sinuous rills, blossomed many an incense-bearing tree. And here, the forest as ancient as the hills, enfolded the sunny spots of greenery. So this poem has 3 stanzas, but is considered incomplete. This was, like you, it's an incomplete bit of work. This experience here at TMA, I sort of think, is the first verse in your lives as developing adults as you sort of write your own poetry. We collectively, both parents, teachers, and staff, we're so excited to see you, follow you, and watch the adults you will become. We're excited. We grow too by watching you grow. It's just really hard to appreciate at this age. But we gain as much from your changes as you get from those. So Scott Simon had recently described, as kids grow, so do their parents. We will always see you through the eyes that held your hands and cleaned up your barf and had you spit up. But we get to see this collective you that teaches us, and we knew you as infants, but we're changing places with you now. You're to the point where you're teaching us, and we grow by watching you grow. It's not just showing us how to use remote controls. It's watching you become these adults, and we get to see that through the eyes of someone who gets to integrate all your ages at once. And so that's really one of the nicest pleasures of being a parent and educator, is you get to move forward and we get to grow and integrate this person you've known, in some cases, for all of your lives. So I think that this community and these teachers and families at TMA have given you the tools and developed and written this first stanza with you in this poem. And you guys get right the trip up here. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Dr. Champion. Just a little window into why I enjoy my board meetings and meetings with the president so much. 24,000 miles. Every meeting I get to learn something like that, and I appreciate it so much. And I've been up here when I had a daughter graduating once before also. It's not easy. Congratulations and thank you. At this time, it's my great pleasure to welcome our keynote speaker for tonight. Oner Topher is a 2017 graduate of the Montessori Academy. From TMA, Oner went on to St. Joe High School, where he was a 4-year member of the boys tennis team, captain his senior year. He was named the St. Joseph Scholar, given to those with cumulative GPAs of 4.0 or higher, and graduated this year with the highest honors. He was named the National AP Scholar with honor. Oner has been a regular volunteer in the ICU unit of Memorial Hospital. He was awarded the Community Award at St. Joseph High School and the Kiwanis Award for boys tennis. Involved in Fed Challenge, which is an economics competition, National Honor Society, Student Government, Quiz Bowl, and organized voter registration drives at St. Joe. I'm getting exhausted just reading the list of what Oner's done. In the fall, he will be attending Boston College to study international relations. Please help me welcome Oner Topher.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for your introduction and for inviting me to speak here this evening. To the faculty and staff, the Board of Trustees, the administration, parents, and to the class of 2021, congratulations. We arrived to this evening with celebration following a year which none of us can even begin to describe. We felt the stark impact of a virus that has penetrated our very well-being, and we've had to manage the burden and fresh challenges that came with it. Indeed, for the last 15 months, the 8th year students at Montessori have dealt with unique challenges like online learning, mask wearing, and plexiglass dividers between desks. And it's certainly an understatement to say that the circumstances of my graduation 4 years ago could not be more different than the ones faced by this year's class. But with that in mind, I'd like to leave COVID in the rearview mirror tonight, provide advice for these next 4 years of secondary education. As you transition to a new academic environment that will challenge you with rigorous coursework and time management, I encourage you to first think about what it means to do your best. Now, I hesitated even using that phrase in my speech because it's so cliche, but I think it's so simple, yet it holds so much meaning in just 3 words. So what does it really entail? Well, the way I define it is maximizing your will and resources with the intention of reaching your highest potential. Now, during my 4 years of high school, this often meant asking for extra help from teachers, studying until I mastered a certain concept, and being relentless in my search for the answers to my academic questions. It involved planning well so I could have enough time for academics, extracurriculars, and leisure, and it meant recognizing what my hard work would amount to in the coming years. And I'd encourage you to do the same or even more these next 4 years. To put this into practice, don't ask questions, be curious, and use all the energy you have to maximize your resources. Don't dream about your academic success. Instead, work for it. In every situation you encounter, think about what it would mean to do your best and do it. There isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to being a good student, so use your first few weeks of school to see what works best for you and utilize that approach for the next 4 years to do your best. Of course, high school is more than just going to the classroom to classroom for 7 hours a day and 5 days a week, and you'll see that in just a few months. So don't hesitate to involve yourself in extracurriculars that genuinely interest you, but don't sign up for activities just for a resume boost. Consider whether you'll want to invest time into these endeavors and grow as a leader throughout high school. Now, for example, to complement my interest in social studies, as Mr. Kelly mentioned, I invested my time in economics competitions, organizing voter registration drives at my high school, and volunteering for political campaigns. So let your passions guide your out-of-class activities, and don't be shy in pursuing what you love. I also can't emphasize enough how important athletics can be to your time in high school. See, signing up for tennis my freshman year gave me a leg up in getting to know my school community. Meeting new people through summer practices before classes started helped me more easily transition to classes as I met amazing coaches and teammates. Of course, high school athletics brings with it competition, but also an opportunity to get your mind off school for several hours a day and improve your mental and physical health along the way. Even if you've never played a sport before, I'd encourage you to at least try one out. You won't regret it. In the end, there's really no substitute for high school sports. Now, just as Montessori has encouraged you to serve your community through going to the Center for the Homeless, volunteering time for Pizza Fridays, and being a source of comfort to those in nursing homes, I call on you to continue serving your communities in high school and beyond. Whether that be volunteering at a local food bank or a nonprofit, or at a local hospital's ICU, as I did prior to the pandemic, you will find that service is the essence of selflessness. There's a Chinese proverb that says, "The scent of a rose given will always stay on the hand of the giver." And I think this phrase really captures the soul of what it means to serve. And just how a scent of a rose will stay on the hand of a giver, the feeling of having helped someone through the action of service will remain with you forever. It's also important to stay informed on current events and develop educated opinions on our country's issues and the global dilemmas we face. Now, this doesn't have to mean following my lead by getting push alerts on your phone for the latest political news, but staying informed could simply entail watching the nightly news every evening or checking a reputable news source for the day's headlines. Similarly, but more importantly, you should exercise your right to vote when you turn 18 and continue to afterwards. We live in the greatest and most diverse country on earth with a unique democratic system that prospers because of people like you, so don't forget to vote. Now, as you grow older and get more independence, such as the right to vote, it's important to recognize the expanded responsibilities that come with this freedom. A phrase I always heard in junior high, and one that sticks to me to this day, is, "With independence comes responsibility." And I think this saying is so fitting for any transition in life, but especially when going from junior high to high school. As you slowly gain more freedom by getting a driver's license, choosing your extracurriculars, and ultimately picking a college, you should embrace the incredible opportunities you have, but also use them wisely. Because independence without responsibility would not be true independence. It would require reliance on others for your own actions, and it would remove a key component of what being independent really is. So don't be shy in welcoming your gradual freedom, but recognize what actions you must take to complement what you have been given. Now, for the last several years, you guys have had some incredible experiences within this very building. From sports games to fun class projects, these experiences have molded you into who you are today. And when you look back on high school or and your time here, the truth is you won't remember any of the things you had, like the newest phone or the pair of shoes or your car. You won't remember any of those things. Instead, what you'll remember are the experiences you had with the people around you, and the places you traveled, and the best moments in athletics. See, my best memories from junior high didn't involve the shoes I wore, the laptop I used, or what I ate for lunch. What I remember most from junior high are trips to New York City and Tremont National Park, and valuable experiences with peers and educators like Mr. Poole and Mr. Kelly. You see, it's the things in life that are temporary, but the experiences are forever. It's not the other way around. In fact, there's a saying that goes, if you write down everything you own, you have a list. If you write down everything you experience, you have a story. And to construct this story, it's imperative that you seek meaningful experiences over temporary objects throughout your life, and indeed throughout high school. Lastly, I'd like to ask you to think about the power of being a decent, polite, and respectful person. Of all the people I've met throughout high school, and indeed throughout my entire life, the people I think the most highly of and remember the most are those who are full of character, well-intentioned, and put others before themselves. These people don't brag about their accomplishments or engage in unruly activity. Instead, they walk into school every day with the purpose of doing genuine good for others and making the most of their education. To envision this, just think about walking into a restaurant or any other business where everyone there has a smile on their face and wants to give you the best service possible. Just think about how amazing that kind of place would be. Now compare that to a restaurant or business where the workers don't even greet you at the door, or they don't even put a smile on their face in your interaction with them. It's easy to know which one of these situations is better, and it's in your hands to make the better one a reality in your own life. But in the end, graduates, anyone who goes to any school can do great things. Whether you go to Montessori or not, and regardless of the high school and college you go to, you can become successful. But what sets Montessori apart is the tools that it provides you that will give you a leg up above others. From the pink tower in early childhood to the immersive science activities in junior high, your education has already placed you in a special position. Graduates, Montessori has given you the tools for the future, and now it's your time to use them. Thank you.
Well, I must say, when I was writing and practicing this, it was hard to get through, and I was texting with Melissa Baldwin earlier, and I said, what if I just stood up there and just wept for 5 minutes? How would that? But then we don't want to start that because everyone, but out of pride, out of exhaustion, out of just hope and joy for you all. But too bad, I'm going to read this instead. Okay. So graduates, commencement means to begin, to launch out. It calls us to hope and to promise and to what we cannot yet see. It beckons you to break loose from what might have become ordinary and even a bit self-centered and to move toward the extraordinary. It suggests that you are indeed ready and equipped to set out on a journey of exploration and discovery, but also one of deep purpose. Yes, commencement celebrates all that has been, the beautiful years of childhood and your volatile years of self-discovery and change as adolescents. Those tenuous times over these past years when teachers and parents guided your ongoing development with love, patience, and wisdom, and perhaps a push or pull here or there, but always with faith in who you are becoming. Faith, after all, is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not yet seen. We, teachers and parents alike, remain in that stance of hope, recognizing your promise. To encounter a world that has an unsure future, especially from the point of view of the adolescent, Dr. Montessori writes, in this fierce battle of civil life, a man or woman must have a strong character and quick wits as well as courage. He or she must be strengthened in his principles by moral training, and he must also have a practical ability in order to face the difficulties of life. Adaptability. This is the most essential quality, for the progress of the world is continually opening new careers and at the same time closing or revolutionizing the traditional types of employment. There is a need for a more dynamic training of character and the development of a clearer consciousness of reality. And so in your experience here at the Montessori Academy, you have been prepared well to honor the conscience, that deep spirit within you, and to seek and ponder and then speak your truth, to use your words, but also to speak through your actions. You have been led to expand your understanding, to respect others' choices, but not by compromising what you know to be right and good and just, your convictions, but to stand in a place of understanding. You have been guided to understand the incredible challenges of governance, of social justice, of living in a democracy as an active, respectful citizen, all of which call you to a humble generosity. You have been invited to develop logical thoughts and strategies around problem solving, to tangle with new revolutionary ideas, to embrace the whirlwind of human life in this 21st century, but also to maintain a respect for stillness and silence, so as to listen to the stirrings of your own heart within you. You have had extraordinary experiences in the arts as instruments of self-expression and self-discovery, as well as to recognize the works of the past as part of the mysterious human story. You've had a taste of economics and business management through microeconomy. You know the power and complexity of commerce and its impact upon human societies. You have explored great works in literature and music and poetry, as well as experimenting with diverse genres of writing, the nobility of the spoken and written word. You have received the rudiments of a world language so as to understand other cultures, to enable you to embrace your role as a world citizen and communicating with others different from yourself. You know how to stand up before a group of your peers or elders or even strangers and speak about your knowledge and your deep concerns or questions or convictions rationally and clearly. You have learned how important it is to come to grips with your mistakes, your missteps, to acknowledge them, to embrace them kindly. You have also come to understand the importance of forgiving others for theirs, including those of parents and teachers, and to move forward without bitterness. But now there is one last thing to speak to, something integral to all of the above-mentioned attributes, and that is something called courage. Dr. Montessori mentions courage and certainly practiced it as a young woman physician and social reformer during the tumultuous years of her century, through 2 world wars and her ever-present quest for peace. Courage, the mental, moral, and physical strength one needs to adapt and embrace all that life offers us or may come our way. Courage, the most remarkable of all human powers, and in fact, the human quality that enables one to acquire all the other virtues: patience, hope, generosity, love, justice, those values that enable you to live life fully as a human being. You have built up a storehouse of knowledge and confidence within you. We just spoke about those elements of your Montessori education, but now some ending points in that regard. How do you move forward with courage? 1. Surround yourself with good friends, wise people who appreciate you for who you are, who believe in you and who respect you. People who can help you maintain the true picture of your potential when you may be wondering if the challenges are all too many. Friends who listen with their hearts. 2, read and reflect. Stay in touch with courageous people who have dared to do what is right and good under duress, and often against all odds. Read about the heroes, men and women of the past, and those living courageously in the present. Open yourself to their inspiration, lives given daily in service of humanity. Journal, write poetry, sketch, take time to be still and thoughtful, to shut out the madness and discordant, distracting voices that can tear at the center of our beings. 3, honor the gift of your life. Take care of your body. Make courageous choices regarding the gift of your one and only life. Eat well, rest, exercise, take time just to be, and protect the good health that enables you to live life generously in service of humanity. You have work to do. Moral quagmires, as well as deep ethical issues, will be part of your life in this regard, and you must choose what you know to be good and right. Yes, honor the gift of your life, and in doing so, you will honor the gift of life that is present in others. Grace and courtesy at the root of it all. 4, travel and open your place of knowing, not as a tourist, but as an authentic explorer, a traveler. Stretch beyond your comfort level. Search and discover the wonders of our natural world and the commonalities that humans from all cultures share. Be filled with a high level of courage, the kind that enables you to embrace the unknown and to learn from others, wherever you are on this planet. And in all of your surroundings, be present to the needs of others. Remain a model of civility, for our world needs that. And last, commitment. Find something meaningful and noble to give your life to, something worthwhile. Your gifts will direct you in that way, but you must pay attention. You must remain alert. A vocation is where your gifts and the world's needs come together. And then do it, and be prepared to stick with it until you know in your heart that you have accomplished your task. You have done all that you could possibly do. It will no doubt take devotion and an intellectual optimism. It will be both the test of your courage, but also the source of your future courage and joy. And so to end, we as your parents, grandparents, teachers, friends, and fellow travelers value your company. We stand in awe as we celebrate this rite of passage ritual today, in this place and in this moment. You give us light, you fill us with promise, and yes, you give us the courage to continue to live our own lives in the service of life, in the belief of the nobility of all mankind. So thank you and congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant afternoon to all of you and the 2021 graduation class. It is an honor for me to be standing before you guys here tonight. And on behalf of all of the TMA community, I would like to express the happiness that we feel in our hearts today. They say people only remember the first and forget the rest, but I believe these last 2 years have been a journey that we will all take many memories with us. You do not need an award or a medal just to prove that there's something special within you. All of you are blessed with talents and are worth congratulating. And this is what this day is about. Let me remind you, it took you 2 years to finally have the diploma you have today. For some of you, many more years who have been here, not in my time at TMA. Who would have thought how much hardship you would have to deal with in your 8th grade year? Yet, you've come a long way indeed. Now that you've passed these challenges of middle school, it's time for you all to move on to an even bigger challenge, high school. The lessons you've learned in class will surely help you get to the next stage, but you also need to remember that all those formulas and poems and everything else that you had to memorize, that will help you, but not only that. They are not the only things that will help you through. You also need to retain the things that you have learned other than the academic stuff, like gaining the courage to stand in front of assembly or stand in front of the class or this very assembly tonight. Or like having the dedication to complete all your math work, even if it's just because Mr. Poole said you had to. So these are some of the things that you have about yourselves that go beyond your textbooks. Those things that you will need not only in high school, but even after that. And there is yet another thing about the class of 2020 that we need to remember. It's the lesson that I've seen many of you display throughout these last 2 years, your appreciation of others. Remember that we cannot stand on our own. Of course, we can solve problems by ourselves, but one cannot deny how important the people all around us are. Our parents, our friends, teachers, administrators, even Miss Muff. or most especially Miss Muff. For all those blessings, I, along with the TMA community and the assembly here today, since we are all sincerely grateful to you. If I could congratulate them again. Yeah.
I just got my favorite Mr. Poole gesture. Does that look familiar? Does that look? Thank you. And let me reiterate, most especially Miss Muff. It's now time for the reason we're all here tonight. It's time to hear from our graduates.
Hello, I'm Henry Ashley. Oh, well, we're finally here. It's been many years and a lot of hard work to get to this point. I am very grateful for this elementary and middle school education. I am especially grateful for my teachers, such as Mr. Poole, Miss Kate, Mr. Hammer, Mr. Sweeney, Mr. Chapman, and Miss Foley, Mrs. Clada, Mrs. Muff, and Miss Dennis, way back in elementary school. I can't leave out an amazing principal, Mr. Kelly. All these authority figures not only helped me with my education, but they also treated me like family and helped me through some of the more rough spots in my life, a trait you cannot find from a public school most of the time. This school, being so small, has definitely helped with how close this community is. I'm also very thankful for my parents, friends, and peers because I couldn't have done this without them either. I also really like the sports systems here because for people who are just beginning that sport or people who aren't as competitive can still play basically as much as they want. Where at a big public school, you'd have to be really good to play. I'm very sad to leave my friends and the Montessori staff because they have been my second family. This school is really my home away from home, and I'm sure it is for many others. Thank you.
Been a while since I've taken my mask off in this building. Hello, parents, teachers, friends, and family. It is my honor to be up here in front of you. Today is a very exciting day, a day long anticipated. Today is the day my peers and I will graduate from the 8th grade, leave the Montessori Academy at Edison Lakes, and move on to high school. Here's a fact about me. I've never been to another school other than this one. Since I was a little over toddler's age, I've gone to this school and been in all the grades here, starting with Miss Turner's class. Miss Turner was the first teacher I had here, so I remember being in her class well, even though it was pretty long ago. I also remember doing works that go with Montessori that I could probably still find in a classroom here today, like the 100 board and the sandpaper letters. Those works were the start of my Montessori education, things that made me understand more complex work better and easier. The little building was also where I met some of my oldest friends, like Cooper and Julia, who I will probably still keep in contact with after I leave here. After Miss Turner's class, I moved up to the big building and started first grade with Miss Domagray in the lower L. I was a bit scared to go into the bigger classroom, but with a tour of the classroom and a pep talk from my parents, I was ready to start. I made new friends here too, but also tried to keep in contact with the old ones, who may have been in other classrooms. In this environment, I got to learn more of the same concepts like math and reading, but also new ones like history and science. Then it was up to 4th through 6th grade, the upper L. I started in Miss Dennis's class, but moved as I went into 6th grade into Miss Muff's, and as Miss Dennis was retiring anyway, and most of my friends from earlier grades were in the other class. This switch had nothing to do against Miss Collada, who replaced Miss Dennis. I had her as my co-teacher in lower L, so I know she's a good teacher. Upper L is where I met most of the friends who are graduating with me today, some of which will be graduating with me today. In Upper L, I learned things like U.S. history, algebra, and Spanish with Mr. Sweeney. Well, a few other teachers than Mr. Sweeney, but Mr. Sweeney is the latest one. Then came the last 2 years of my time here at junior high. Here I formed bonds with people I probably wouldn't have even been friends with at other schools. I also experienced the pandemic that shook our worlds, COVID-19. In the middle of March, we were sent home for the longest 2 weeks ever, lasting a total of 5 months of quarantine time, followed by another 8 months of mask wearing, rather. We had many field trips and junior high experiences that would never come to pass, but we made it through, and that is with great thanks to my junior high teachers. To Miss Kate, who helped us not just stay on track with her classes, but with all the others too. to Mr. Hammer, who helped us reignite our love for science, and to Mr. Poole, who not only made math easy to understand, but easy to have fun with. If it weren't for you guys, I think we all would have had a much harder time with the e-learning, mask-wearing year we've had. I'd also like to thank my family for being there for me all these years, especially my parents, who helped me with assignments, science fair projects, and making sure I reached the deadlines that I would have forgotten about otherwise. Thank you all for being there for us. So like I said, I've never been to another school before. I don't claim to know what's coming up, but I do know that I have friends and people who I trust, people who understand me, that I can talk to anytime, people who will listen. And because of that, I'm not scared. Thank you to everybody who's been there for me, and I hope you know I'm there for you as well. Thank you.
No. Okay. Hi, I'm Julia. Okay. First of all, I can barely see over the podium, so that's great. My earrings. It's fine. Everything's fine. Okay. Okay. Hi, I'm Julia. I've been going to this school since I was in preschool, so 10 years, and I've loved it since then. When trying to write this speech, I went through a lot of drafts, trying to sum up my entire Montessori experience in a 5-minute speech, but it's been so hard because I could write a whole novel about it. It's truly an amazing school, and I've had so many enriching experiences. I found it really difficult to try and express how amazing my experience here has been with all the people I've met, may it be teachers or friends. I think one of my favorite things about this school is that everyone here helps to build such an amazing community. There's so much of who I am today and the person I plan to become to this school. Throughout my time at the Montessori, I met so many amazing people and had so many friends. I've known Mason and Cooper since I was in preschool, and I think with the help of the Montessori, I've been able to grow those friendships and keep them for so long. One of the amazing parts of this community at the school is that you really are friends with everyone, and I think that's the reason why you don't have to know someone for 10 years to be their friend. Makaya, someone who I met at an art camp with Miss Collada in like 2nd grade, has made my Montessori experience just so much better. Sorry, okay. My absolute favorite part is in my 8th grade year. Some of my best friends are people I've reconnected with just this year. I have so many laughs and smiles to Lily and Emerson and Alyssa. They've really made my 8th grade year the best school year I've had so far, despite the circumstances. To be honest with you, I'm going to miss the Montessori Academy so much. I'm so excited for high school, but the school has been my home for so many years now, and I've made so many friends along the way. It's going to be really hard to leave this school. I'd also like to talk about the amazing teachers and staff at this school. All of them have helped build my education and have really helped me stay interested in subjects I usually don't gravitate towards. I'm going to miss this school so much and all my friends and teachers. I'm so grateful to have this amazing experience. Some last thanks are to my parents for giving me this amazing experience, and lastly to Mr. Kelly for being an amazing, fun principal. Congratulations, class of 2021. Bye-bye. Okay.
Let's not get my earrings caught this time. Okay. Hello. My name is Makaya, and I have been a student here at the Montessori Academy for the past 5 years. Before, I went to a public school, and I was surprised by how different the approach to learning was. Instead of the usual cookie-cutter classrooms and learning systems, you learn the best working environment for you. That not only has helped me in my everyday life, but it has helped me understand my work ethics. I would like to thank Mrs. Muffaletto for teaching me that it's okay to not understand something at first, and it's okay to ask questions, and for making me feel so welcome here. I'd like to also thank Mr. Poole for helping me understand math and geometry, even though I still don't understand it whatsoever. And Mr. Hammer for making science more fun and interesting, even when the subject is awkward, and for staying so connected with us during the pandemic and making sure we're okay and making sure the class was online and going smoothly. A huge thank you to all of you. I would also like to take a moment to appreciate all the friends I have made here, and all the wonderful memories we have made over the years, and not judging me when I didn't understand something. I have known some of the students here before I even was at the school. Like Julia said, we met at a summer camp in like 2nd grade, and I grew up with Cooper. I am very sad to be leaving, but I am very excited for high school as well, and the next few chapters of my life. Thank you to my parents for making this all possible, and my grandparents for helping with all that, and thank you everyone for making this a wonderful experience.
Gotta adjust this. You know how tall I am. Okay. Oh, take this mask. Okay. Hello and welcome. My name is Cooper Finch. I would first like to congratulate my fellow 8th graders. As we all know, it has been a substandard, dreadful, and unpredictable couple of, I guess, years. And yet, we're still here making this consequential achievement in our lives. Montessori has been my other home for my entire 14 years of existence. During that time, we went through a lot of good and sadly bad times. But the one thing that will never change is our community. The Montessori Academy at Edison Lakes has not just given me a great education, but also has given me a family. I believe in a world where everyone is treated how they want to be treated, or, in other terms, the golden rule, which we all learned at a young age here. So instead of people in power deciding how, other people are treated, other people those people can choose how they want to be treated. And, that goes out to, everyone, even if, whatever race, sexuality, religion, or even if you're, a foot taller than everybody. Totally not me. So, this is the only... Community is the only way to fix major world problems like climate change and wars. We need peace to stop major world problems. I've learned a lot from my Montessori education. In fact, I've learned practically all of my life skills here. When my mom brought me to this school, I was 4 days old. I'm very thankful for my mother, who, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have this amazing education and family. As the years progressed and I got to lower elementary, I felt very comfortable. And it felt more like another home. I know for some kids it can be very uncomfortable in their schools. But because of this school, I felt like this drama and stress kind of what can sometimes be called school has not is kind of just been outside of the boundaries for me. I'm still vulnerable to stress, but this community and education has just made it so stress relieving as possible. With my Montessori education, it will really help reach my goal of helping all the people around the world. Montessori alumni have said the same thing as me, that this school has really helped me prepare for my future and expand my possibilities. Because of Montessori, I find that I can help my generation fix multiple worldwide problems. After all, the best way to fix a problem is working together. One of my favorite parts of my TMA experience was making memories. If it was just the little things that sound dumb, which in this case are actually my favorite memories because they are my strongest memories. I can't remember much from my the toddler to kindergarten years. Besides that, most of my friends I met at that time, Julia and Mason, who I honestly, I don't know what I would do without you guys. You guys are amazing. When I got to lower elementary in room 106, I met Miss Reynolds and Miss Sonia. Lower is where I got most of my little but favorite memories. I love the times where I can bring our classroom pet, Humphrey, home for the long weekend. It really meant that anything, even if it's a small memory of a plastic figure, can be a strong memory. It's also when I developed my basis of my Montessori education, and I started to get involved in the school community more. When I got to upper elementary with Mrs. Muff, Mr. Miller, Mrs. Dennis, and Mrs. Foley, I really started developing my worldview and my personality. I ran some tough times in upper L, but with the support from the community, it's really helped me, and with the pandemic now as well. When I got to junior high with Miss Kate, Mr. Hammer, and Mr. Poole, I've developed a strong moral beliefs, and I really ran with it. And thanks to my lovely teachers here, it's really going to help me expand my possibilities and work for my goal. And you guys have really taught me in the best way. And you guys have expanded my courage, even if it's math and geometry, which, you know, I'm not the best at, but Mr. Poole has taught me to try my best, and that's all he cares about. I would like to thank everyone who's been along with me on this long path of 14 years. First, thank you to my entire family. You guys have been there from day one to now. I will forever be thankful, and I really can't put it into words. Thank you to all the faculty and staff for all the tremendous work you guys do. Thank you to my lovely teachers, the past ones and the present, well, not going to be past, sadly. You guys have not just made education fun, but also in a learning, but you also have gave us a mentor to look up to and reach for our goals. Hold up. Thank you to my friends. Truly, you guys, I call you guys my peanut butter jelly sandwich, because really, the sandwich, it's the peanut butter jelly sandwich wouldn't be, without the peanut butter jelly and bread. If you just put those together, if you just took those apart, they wouldn't be the same, right? So I guess that makes me the peanut butter, my friends the jelly, and I guess the school the bread. And I can't thank enough our wonderful principal of the bread, Mr. Kelly, who was not just giving me a figure to look up to, but a wonderful head of school who I can always talk to about my personal life and my educational life here. Thank you. Even though I am leaving TMA, I still will be here, because my mom works here. But I'm truly not leaving ever, because my heart will always be at TMA. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Sean, and I'm here to talk a bit about my experience at the school. Firstly, when I came here, I knew nobody, of course, but despite this, it actually didn't feel like an issue at all. There was just something about the atmosphere immediately different from the last school I had gone to. And fast forward even a year, and it felt like I had been there since kindergarten. And as for the education itself, I was challenged, but it still felt like there was room to breathe. I feel like coming here, in general, was an excellent decision that has had all sorts of positive effects on my life. And in high school, talking about high school, I think that I'm definitely ready. In fact, I've been brought to a level where I may even be over-prepared in some respects. I have plans and all that's necessary to carry them out, and I'm also not concerned for anyone else graduating either. It seems they're in a similar situation. They've all seemed to find what they've enjoyed doing and honed their skills. For me, I gained a passion for computer science through the school's computer classes, where I learned how to code all sorts of interesting things. And I think it's great how these classes sparked my interest in a skill which I'll be able to use throughout my whole life, one which I could even get a job on. And as for the other graduates, they've also picked up on things too, taking up things such as art, writing, and even engineering. Not only did we acquire the necessary skills to help start a career, but we also grew socially, having deeper relationships and more communication among us. When we talk to each other, it feels like we are truly understanding each other, and it also is easier to make relationships too, which is one of the reasons I feel more ready for high school in general. So to conclude, I think I speak for all of the graduates when I say that it's been amazing to be here, and I'm very grateful that I got the opportunity to participate in this community. It has improved my life in many ways and prepared me well for high school. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good next year.
Tonight, as my fellow students and I reach the end of a milestone in our lives, I want to take a moment and talk about impressions. First impressions, lasting impressions. For those of you here this evening who might not be familiar with my journey to TMA, I spent the first 8.5 years of my Montessori experience trying to understand all the fuss about pink towers at a Montessori school in Benton Harbor, Michigan, where I came to appreciate the teaching methods Maria Montessori laid out in her writings. Even though this was their idea, I'm sure at times my parents thought these concepts were some form of educational quackery, but I really enjoyed the process, the teachers who applied them. I love attending school, and I love this way of learning. But a funny thing happened on the way to middle school. It kinda didn't. There's this quote by Maria Montessori that reads, "The greatest sign of success for a teacher is to be able to say, 'The children are now working as if I did not exist.'" The problem was, students were working as if the teachers didn't exist, because they didn't. It became hard to learn, and more importantly, the joy of learning went away. So, long story short, on the suggestion of a friend of my parents, in January of 2020, I found my way halfway through 7th level year to the middle school classroom of TMA. Here, my first impressions were made. Classmates. They make up a huge part of an academic experience. Luckily, I ended up on the positive side of things. Cooper. My first impression was, holy cow, they grow them big in Indiana. You are a mountain of a kid, but my lasting impression will be that your heart is as big as you. Mason. My first impression was that of someone who has a great sense of humor. Sometimes first impressions are right. My lasting impression is you indeed do have a great sense of humor that you bring with you to every job you take on. Makaya, on first meeting you, you remind me of a cruise director, going out of your way to make sure everyone is connected and having a good time. My lasting impression now also contains the thought that you might be the living embodiment of Mona Lisa Vito in the movie My Cousin Vinny. Now, Ms. Vito, being an expert on automobile knowledge, can you tell me what would the ignition timing of a 1955 Bel Air Chevy with a 327 cubic inch engine and a 4-barrel carburetor? Henry, you make sure there is never that awkward silence that can happen between two people when they meet. As I leave here today, I appreciate that as long as there is talking amongst people, future problems can be solved and ideas will flourish. Sean, I saw you as the quiet one. Man, oh man. I've learned that with all that quiet, there is a whole lot of smarts going on in that head of yours. I can't wait for the future when I can tell people I went to school with you. Julia, it was hard to get a first impression on you. We just didn't really do anything together in class. My lasting impression of you, however, is that your ideas were not made by boring, run-of-the-mill thinking. Instead, I see your outside-the-box thinking as your guide to the future. If you remember earlier, I quoted Maria Montessori as it took on a more negative perspective in my junior high experience at my previous school. The reality of my experience at TMA are a complete 180, 180 opposite to that experience. My first week or so in this new classroom showed me that I indeed was going to learning a lot. Teachers were really trying to connect with me and give enough direction so that indeed I could learn as if they didn't exist, just as Maria Montessori envisioned. Mr. Poole, Miss Kate, Mr. Hammer, Mr. Sweeney, and Mr. Chapman. I'm positive that you all have a lasting impression on me and will one day look back and be thankful on all that you did. All that you taught, you laid a strong foundation for my future, and I am forever grateful.
Or a foot shorter than everybody else, Coop.
Speech, blah, 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 blah. 5 minutes later, bye-bye.
So he's good under pressure, I guess, is what we found out. Can we please give it up one more time for our graduates? Wow. Thank you all. That was fantastic. It is now time for the presentation of diplomas. Any of you worried there might not be one in there? Okay. Let's see. First up, Henry Ashley. Mason Baldwin. You don't want yours? Julia Champion. Makaya Preston Clark. Cooper Finch. Sean Robinson. Last but certainly not least, Athey Ulrich. Ladies and gentlemen, the graduating class of 2021. And one more time. Thank you all once again so much for joining us tonight. There will be a reception following the ceremony. Thanks to 7th grade parents, Amy Cousins and Ramona Kim. Thank you so much for putting that together. Again, thank you for being here, and congratulations to all of you as well. Thank you so much.